Everyone ignored the black gray-haired veteran at the airport, until the soldiers saluted him. Everyone is moving. Everyone is going somewhere. Everyone has somewhere important to be. Except one man. He sits alone near gate 27. Not moving. Not scrolling. Not doing anything that marks him as part of the constant motion that defines modern travel. He's older, late 60s, maybe early 70s. Black man with gray hair, clothes cropped like it's been cut the same way for 50 years. Deep lines around his eyes. Hands resting on his knees, fingers interlaced, posture straight despite his age. He wears a worn brown coat, the kind that's been through winters and rough handling and still holds together through sheer stubbornness. At his feet sits a military duffel bag. Faded green. Canvas. The kind they don't make anymore. And here's what you need to understand about this moment, about this man sitting perfectly still while chaos swirls around him. Everyone walks past him. Everyone. Businessmen in expensive suits glance at him and keep moving. Families with strollers navigate around him like he's furniture. Young couples holding hands don't even register his presence. He is invisible. Not literally. Not physically. But in every way that matters in a place like this. A place that measures worth by urgency, by destination, by the price of your ticket and the polish on your shoes, he might as well not exist. But here's what they don't see. What they can't see because they're not looking closely enough. His boots. Old military boots. Polished despite their age. Worn at the heels but maintained with the kind of care that speaks to discipline, to routine, to decades of muscle memory. The duffel bag at his feet has a faded unit patch sewn on the side. Most people wouldn't recognize it. Most people have never heard of the unit. The war it represents has been reduced to a paragraph in history books that high schoolers skim before moving on to something more dramatic, more cinematic, more easy to understand. And his hands. If you looked, really looked, you'd see the scars. Small ones. The kind you get from handling equipment in the field, from carrying weight, from doing things that leave permanent marks on skin and bone and soul. But nobody's looking. Nobody sees him. Until they do. And when they finally see him, when recognition cuts through the noise and the movement and the assumptions, everything changes. This is the story of a man who became invisible. And the moment that reminded an entire terminal what honor actually looks like. Stay with me. Because what you're about to witness will break your heart and put it back together in the span of 35 minutes. Welcome to Gray Hair Stories. Every story we share is more than just drama. It's a reminder of young strength, resilience, and justice. If you believe in celebrating Black excellence and standing against injustice and prejudice, hit that like and subscribe button right now. We would like to know where you are watching from and what time is it for you right now in the comment. The terminal is unusually crowded for a Tuesday afternoon. 3 flights delayed due to weather. 1 mechanical issue. The usual chaos of modern air travel compounded by circumstances beyond anyone's control. People are frustrated. You can see it in their faces, hear it in their voices as they argue with gate agents who have no power to change anything but absorb all the anger anyway. The man sits through all of it. Gate 27. Same spot. Hasn't moved in 45 minutes. He's not waiting for a delayed flight. His boarding doesn't start for another 2 hours. He's just early. The kind of early that comes from a lifetime of military precision, where late means you've already failed, where on time means you're cutting it too close. So he sits, and he waits. And people walk past him like he's part of the terminal architecture. A businessman approaches, mid-40s, expensive suit, rolling a leather carry-on that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He's on his phone, voice sharp with irritation. I don't care what the client says, we're not pushing the deadline. They knew the parameters when they signed. He stops near the man's seat, glances down, notices the duffel bag, the worn coat, the gray hair. Something flickers across his face. Not quite disgust. Not quite a pity. Something in between. The look people give when they see someone they've categorized as less than, and want to make sure everyone knows they noticed but aren't bothered by it. He moves to a seat 3 rows down. Farther from the gate. Farther from the old man. Close enough to still hear his phone call, he mutters to someone nearby, probably waiting for assistance or something. The person, a woman in yoga pants and a designer jacket, glances at the old man and nods. Poor thing. You'd think they'd have better services for people like that. People like that? The words hang in the air. Neither of them realizes they've said anything wrong. Neither of them thinks twice about reducing a human being to a category, to an assumption, to a problem that someone else should solve. The old man hears it. You can tell by the slight change in his expression. Not anger, not hurt exactly, but recognition. Like he's heard some version of this before. Many times before. He doesn't respond. Doesn't correct them. Just keeps sitting. Hands folded. Posture straight. A child appears. Maybe 5 years old. Little boy in a striped shirt and light-up sneakers. He's escaped his parents momentarily and is exploring the terminal with the fearless curiosity of someone who hasn't learned yet that the world can be cruel. He stops in front of the old man. Stares at him with the complete, unself-conscious focus that only children possess. The old man looks down. Meets the child's eyes. Smiles. Small, warm, genuine. The boy points at the duffel bag. Are you a soldier? Before the man can answer, the mother appears. Grabs the boy's hand. Pulls him away with an apologetic smile directed at no one in particular. Sorry. Come on, sweetie. Leave the man alone. The boy looks back as he's led away. The old man waves once. Small gesture. The kind of wave that says it's okay, I understand. But there's something in his eyes now. A weight. A tiredness that goes deeper than physical exhaustion. Minutes pass. The terminal continues its relentless rhythm. Announcements. Movement. Noise. An airport staff member approaches, young woman, name tag reading, Jessica, pushing a wheelchair. She stops near the old man. Speaks loudly, slowly, with the exaggerated care people use when they assume someone is impaired. Sir? Do you need assistance? Are you having trouble finding your gate? The man looks up at her. His voice is quiet, steady, with the measured cadence of someone who's learned that calm authority speaks louder than volume. No, I'm exactly where I need to be. Thank you. Jessica hesitates. Looks at his duffel bag. His worn coat. Doesn't quite believe him. Are you sure? I can help you check in or... I'm early, he says simply. Boarding doesn't start for another hour and 40 minutes. But I appreciate your concern. She nods, still uncertain, and moves on. Glances back once. The old man has already returned to his stillness, his waiting. Nearby, a couple, late 30s, dressed for vacation, matching travel pillows around their necks, whispers to each other. The woman, do you think he's homeless? The man, I don't know. Maybe. Should we tell someone? Tell them what? I don't know. That he's just sitting there. He's allowed to sit there. I know, but... They don't finish the thought. Don't need to. The implication is clear. His presence makes them uncomfortable. Not because he's doing anything wrong, but because he exists in a space they've mentally designated for people who look a certain way, who have a certain status, who belong. And in their minds, he doesn't belong. The old man shifts slightly. Opens his duffel bag. Just a few inches, just enough to reach inside. For a moment, something emerges. Dark fabric. Pressed and folded with military precision. It's a jacket. Ceremonial. The kind with insignia, with rank markers, with the visual language that tells a story to anyone who knows how to read it. He touches it gently. Fingers tracing the fabric like he's touching a memory. Then he closes the bag again. Doesn't take it out. Doesn't put it on. Not yet. A security officer walks past. Young guy, maybe mid-20s, hand resting on his belt, eyes scanning the terminal with the casual vigilance that comes with the job. He notices the old man. Slows down. Watches him for a few seconds longer than necessary. The old man is doing nothing. Literally nothing. Just sitting. Waiting. But the officer watches anyway. Because that's what happens when you're black and gray-haired and sitting still in a space that expects you to either be spending money or moving along. You become suspicious simply by existing. The old man notices the scrutiny. Meets the officer's eyes calmly. Doesn't look away. Doesn't challenge. just exists, with the quiet dignity of someone who has nothing to prove and no energy left to prove it anyway. The officer eventually moves on. But the message has been sent. Received. Acknowledged. You don't belong here. The terminal's energy shifts slightly. Afternoon is sliding toward evening. The light coming through the massive windows has changed from harsh midday glare to something softer, more golden. And that's when they arrive. A group of soldiers. 6 of them. Maybe 7. Young, early 20s most of them. Wearing modern combat uniforms, the kind with digital camouflage patterns and name tapes velcroed across their chests. Boots so new they still squeak slightly on the polished terminal floor. They're laughing. Talking. The easy camaraderie of people who have shared something difficult and come through it together. They're heading toward a different gate. Not gate 27. They wouldn't normally pass the old man at all. But one of them, a young woman, private first class according to her rank, drops something. A water bottle. It rolls. She chases it. And in chasing it, she comes within 10 feet of where the old man sits. She picks up the bottle. Straightens. And sees him. Really sees him. Her eyes go to his boots first. Recognition flickers. Then to the duffel bag. The faded unit patch. She stares for just a second too long. The old man notices her noticing. His posture, already straight, becomes somehow more defined. Shoulders back. Chin level. The unconscious muscle memory of someone who wore a uniform so long it became part of his skeleton. The young soldier opens her mouth like she wants to say something. But her unit is moving. Someone calls her name. She has to go. She glances back once as she walks away. The old man watches her go. And for the first time since he sat down 90 minutes ago, something in his expression changes. Not hope exactly, but awareness. The possibility that he might not be invisible after all. If you're already feeling something building in your chest, that tension, that sense that something important is about to happen, subscribe right now. Because we're just getting started, and what comes next is going to hit you harder than you expect. Here's what I need to know. Have you ever been invisible? Have you ever been in a room full of people and felt like nobody saw you, nobody acknowledged you, nobody cared that you existed? Tell me in the comments. Because this man has lived that reality for longer than most of us can imagine. The terminal settles into the rhythm of late afternoon. The delayed flights have finally departed. The crowds have thinned slightly. The chaos has downshifted from urgent to merely constant. The old man remains. Same seat. Same posture. Same quiet presence that everyone continues to ignore. But something has shifted. Subtly. Internally. He's remembering. You can see it in his eyes, the way they focus on something beyond the terminal, beyond the present moment. The way his hands, still folded carefully, tighten just slightly. The memories come in fragments. A younger version of himself. Can't be more than 22, 23. Wearing a uniform that looks nothing like the modern ones. Older cut, different fabric, the visual marker of a different era of warfare. Everywhere. On his boots, his pants, caked under his fingernails. Rain falling so hard it sounds like static. Voices shouting. His name. Commands. Warnings. Someone screaming for a medic. His hands, younger, unscarred, gripping something heavy. Moving fast. Following orders that come rapid fire and leave no room for hesitation. The crack of gunfire in the distance. Closer. Closer. The memory fractures. Incomplete. The way trauma works, preserving fragments but refusing to give the full picture because the full picture is too much to hold all at once. The old man blinks. He's back in the terminal. Present. The sounds of modern life replacing the sounds of war. But his hands are shaking. Just slightly. Just enough that someone paying attention would notice. He presses them together more firmly. Breathes deliberately. Regains control. Nobody notices. Nobody's watching. More travelers arrive at gate 27. The flight is getting closer to boarding time now, about an hour away. People are claiming seats, spreading out their belongings, staking their territorial claims to armrests and outlets. A couple arrives. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Expensive luggage. Designer travel wear. The kind of people who fly often enough that airports are just another part of their routine. They survey the seating area. There are empty seats scattered throughout. But the ones nearest the gate, the ones that will allow for first boarding, for optimal positioning, those are fewer. The woman points to the seat directly next to the old man. That one's open. Her husband looks at the old man, looks at the seat, looks back at his wife. There are other seats, not as close to the gate. They have a brief, whispered argument. The kind couples have in public when they want to fight but don't want to be seen fighting. The husband, I'm not sitting next to him. The wife, why not? He's just sitting there. Exactly. He's just sitting. Not boarding. Not doing anything. It's weird. You're being ridiculous. Fine. You sit there then. They both choose seats 3 rows back. The old man heard every word. His face doesn't change. He's heard worse. He's survived worse. But there's a cost to being treated like a problem everywhere you go. There's a weight that accumulates. Even when you've developed armor thick enough to deflect individual insults, the collective weight of them, day after day, year after year, still presses down. An announcement echoes through the terminal. Attention passengers. Due to ongoing security protocols, all travelers are reminded to report suspicious behavior to airport personnel. If you see something, say something. The words are routine, standard, repeated in airports across the country dozens of times a day. But in this context, in this moment, with the old man sitting quietly while people actively avoid him, while security watches him with extra attention, while strangers whisper about whether he belongs, the announcement takes on a different tone. Who decides what's suspicious? Who decides who belongs? A janitor appears. Older black man, maybe mid-60s. Pushing a trash cart. Moving through the gate area with the invisible efficiency of someone whose job requires them to be everywhere and noticed nowhere. He empties a trash bin near where the old man sits. Pauses. Looks at the old man. Really looks. Something passes between them. Recognition. Not of each other specifically, but of something shared. Some common experience that doesn't need words. The janitor gestures slightly toward the seat beside the old man. Mind if I take a break? The old man shakes his head. Not at all. The janitor sits, groans slightly as his knees bend, sets his cart aside. They sit in silence for a moment. 2 men, 2 generations, both invisible in their own ways to the people flowing around them. Long day? The janitor asks finally. The old man considers this. Smiles slightly. Long life. The janitor nods. Understands exactly what that means. Where are you headed? North Carolina. Seeing family. That's good. Family's good. Another pause. Comfortable this time. The silence of 2 people who don't need to fill every moment with noise. The janitor glances at the duffel bag. See the unit patch. His expression changes, subtle but definite. You served. It's not a question. I did, the old man says simply. How long? 23 years. The janitor lets out a low whistle. That's a lifetime. It was. Thank you for your service. The old man nods. He's heard that phrase thousands of times. It's become almost meaningless through repetition, through the way people say it reflexively without really thinking about what service means, what it costs, what it takes. But coming from this man, another black man old enough to remember when their service was segregated, when their sacrifice was expected but their recognition was not, it lands differently. Thank you, the old man says quietly. The janitor stands. Knees protesting again. You take care now. You too. The janitor moves on. Back to his cart. Back to his work. Back to being invisible. But that brief moment of connection, of being seen, of being acknowledged, it settles something in the old man's chest. He's not looking for recognition. Hasn't been this whole time. He's just existing. Just waiting for his flight. Just trying to get from one place to another like everyone else in this terminal. But being seen, really seen, it matters more than people realize. The terminal's energy shifts again. Boarding announcements for other flights echo through the speakers. People gather their belongings. Lines form. The security officer from earlier passes by again. Still watching. Still suspicious. This time he stops. "Sir, can I see your boarding pass and ID?" The old man doesn't react with surprise or indignation. Just reaches into his coat pocket with careful, deliberate movements, the kind designed to make sure no one misinterprets his actions. He produces both documents. Hands them over. The officer examines them. Takes longer than necessary. The kind of scrutiny that's about power, about making a point, not about actual security. "You're early," the officer says. "Yes." "Flight doesn't board for another hour." "Yes." "Why are you here so early?" The old man meets his eyes. Steady. "Because I prefer to be early." The officer wants to push further. You can see it in his posture, in the way he's holding the documents. He wants a reason to escalate, to justify his suspicion, to prove that his attention was warranted. But there's nothing. The documents are valid. The man has done nothing wrong. He's simply existing in a public space he has every right to occupy. The officer hands back the documents. "Have a good flight." It's not said warmly. The old man takes his ID and boarding pass. Tucks them back into his pocket. "Thank you, officer." The security guard moves on. But his radio crackles. He mutters something into it. Glances back at the old man once more. Nearby passengers have watched this entire exchange. Some look uncomfortable. Others studiously avoid eye contact, pretending they didn't see anything. Nobody intervenes. Nobody questions why an old man sitting quietly needs to be ID'd an hour before his flight even boards. Nobody wants to get involved. The old man closes his eyes briefly. Takes a deep breath. The memories come again. Different this time. He's older in this one. Maybe late 20s. Still in uniform. Standing at attention while someone pins something to his chest. A medal. Recognition for something he did. Something that mattered. The ceremony is small. Not many witnesses. His unit was never the kind that got headlines, that got parades, that got the kind of recognition that makes history books. They did their job. I came home. Were expected to integrate back into a society that had sent them to fight but didn't necessarily want to see them when they returned. Especially if they looked like him. He opens his eyes. His hand drifts to his chest, to where the medal was pinned all those years ago. There's nothing there now. Just the worn fabric of his civilian coat. But he remembers. And that's when movement catches his eye. The soldiers from before. The young group in modern uniforms. They're coming back through the terminal. Apparently their gate changed. Or maybe they're just passing through. They're closer this time. Much closer. The young woman, the private first class who noticed him earlier, she's looking around. Scanning. Searching for something. Her eyes land on him. And this time, she stops walking. Completely stops. Her entire unit keeps moving for a few steps before realizing she's fallen behind. They turn around. Call her name. But she's not listening. She's staring at the old man. At his boots. At the duffel bag. At the unit patch that most people wouldn't recognize but that she clearly does. Her lips move. Whispers something to the soldier next to her. That soldier looks. Eyes widen. Whispers to another. The chain reaction begins. One by one, the young soldiers turn their attention to the old man sitting quietly at gate 27. And recognition, real, genuine, informed recognition, spreads through their group like electricity. The old man notices. His posture, already straight, becomes somehow more defined. Shoulders back. Chest out. Chin level. Not because he's trying to impress anyone. Because after decades of muscle memory, after a lifetime of service, his body knows what to do when soldiers are watching. One of them, a young man, sergeant stripes visible on his sleeve, takes a step forward. Then stops. Uncertain. Because what do you do when you recognize history sitting in front of you? What do you do when you realize you've been trained by the people this man trained? What do you do when you understand that the freedom you're defending was defended first by someone who wasn't even granted that same freedom at home? The terminal continues around them. But in this small pocket of space near gate 27, time has stopped. 7 young soldiers staring at one old man. One old man looking back at them with eyes that have seen things they can only imagine. And everyone else in the terminal, completely, utterly oblivious to what's about to happen. If your heart is pounding right now, if you can feel the tension building, if you just know that something extraordinary is about to happen, subscribe. Right now. Because the next act is where everything changes. Where recognition finally arrives. Tell me this. Do you think young people today understand the sacrifices made by veterans of earlier generations? Do you think we've forgotten? Do you think stories like this one even matter anymore? I want to hear your honest thoughts in the comments. The terminal has reached that strange in-between time. Not quite evening. Not quite the dinner rush. That pocket of late afternoon where the energy dips before the night flights begin boarding and chaos reasserts itself. Gate 27 is getting busier now. Boarding is 45 minutes away. Passengers are gathering, claiming their territories, settling in for the wait. The old man hasn't moved. Same seat. Same posture. Same quiet, dignified presence that the majority of travelers continue to ignore. But those soldiers, those 7 young men and women in modern combat uniforms, they're still there. They've moved closer, not directly to him, not yet, but closer. They're huddled together near a pillar about 20 feet away, talking in low, urgent voices, gesturing, debating. The young woman, the private first class who first noticed him, is animated, emphatic. You can read her body language even without hearing her words. We have to do something. We can't just walk past him. But there's hesitation in the group. One of them, a specialist, young guy with nervous energy, keeps shaking his head, pointing at his watch. They have somewhere to be. They're on orders. They can't just. The sergeant, the one with the stripes, the one who carries himself with slightly more authority than the others, he's watching the old man, studying him, trying to decide, trying to be sure. Because if they're wrong, if they've misidentified him, if that faded unit patch means something different than what they think it means. But if they're right, if that old man's sitting there, being ignored by everyone, dismissed by security, avoided by travelers who can't be bothered to see past his age and his skin color, if he's who they think he is, the old man notices them watching. He doesn't acknowledge it directly, doesn't wave or signal or give any indication that he knows he's being observed. But something shifts in his posture. An awareness. The way prey animals know when they're being tracked, except this isn't fear. This is something else. Expectation maybe. Or resignation. He's been recognized before. Sometimes with genuine respect. Sometimes with hollow patriotism. People who thank him for his service in the same breath they cross the street to avoid him. Sometimes not at all. He's learned not to expect much. A family boards the flight before his, different gate, but nearby. The chaos of traveling with small children creates a temporary commotion. Crying. Scattered toys. A father arguing with a gate agent about overhead bin space. The old man watches this with a small, patient smile. He was that father once. Long time ago. Traveling with his own children, back when they were small enough to carry, young enough to believe their daddy could fix anything. They're grown now, have children of their own. That's who he's going to see in North Carolina. His daughter, his grandchildren, the family he built after the war, after the service, after he came home to a country that simultaneously thanked him and refused to serve him at lunch counters. But that's a different story. Right now, he's just waiting. The soldiers are still debating. The sergeant pulls out his phone. Open something. Show it to the others. They crowd around the small screen. Whatever they're looking at, it settles something. The debate ends. Decisions solidify. The young private first class nods firmly. The specialist stops shaking his head. Even the ones who were hanging back move forward slightly. They've decided. But they haven't moved yet. Because there's protocol. There's respect. There's a right way to do this and a wrong way. And if they're going to honor this man, if they're going to acknowledge what he represents, they're going to do it correctly. The sergeant takes charge. Start organizing. Positions people. Check uniforms. Make sure everything is squared away. This is going to be witnessed. Recorded. Remembered. It has to be done right. The old man's boarding group is called. First class and priority passengers. That's him. He has a first-class ticket, saved for months to afford it, because he wanted this trip to be special, wanted to arrive at his daughter's house not exhausted from a middle seat in the back but rested and ready to meet his newest grandchild for the first time. But he doesn't stand immediately. He sits for a moment longer, hands on his knees, looking at nothing in particular, gathering himself. Then he reaches down, open the duffel bag, pull out the jacket, the one he touched earlier, the one he's been carrying with him but hasn't worn. It's a dress uniform jacket, old style, decades out of date, but immaculately maintained. The fabric shows age, shows years, but also shows care, shows that it matters. The insignia on the shoulders, rank markers that most civilians wouldn't recognize. Most modern soldiers wouldn't either, unless they'd studied military history, unless they'd paid attention in the classes about the units that came before, the soldiers who paved the way. But these soldiers know. They've been looking at pictures on their phones. They've been cross-referencing. They've been making sure. And now they're certain. The old man stands slowly, knees protesting slightly. Age making movements that used to be automatic require thought and effort. He slips the jacket on, adjusts the fit, fastens the buttons. Smooth, practiced movements. Muscle memory from a lifetime of wearing uniforms correctly. And when he straightens, when he stands there in that old jacket with those polished boots and that duffel bag, he transforms. Not physically. He's still old, still gray-haired, still carrying the weight of decades. But something changes. The invisible man becomes visible. The dismissed elder becomes the soldier he always was. The terminal hasn't noticed yet. Most people are too focused on their own journeys, their own frustrations, their own small worlds to register what's happening 20 feet away. But the soldiers notice. Oh, they notice. The sergeant straightens, pulls his uniform taut, makes one final check that everything is perfect. Then he makes a gesture, a silent command to his unit. They form up. Not a perfect formation. This is an airport terminal, not a parade ground. But as close as they can manage in the confined space. 7 soldiers, standing at attention, facing the old man. And they wait, because it's not their moment to take. It's his moment to receive. The old man finishes adjusting his jacket, looks up, sees them seeing him, and for the first time since he sat down 3 hours ago, for the first time since he entered this terminal and became invisible to everyone around him, someone looks at him and sees not an old man taking up space, not a suspicious presence to be monitored, not a problem to be solved or a charity case to be pitted. They see a soldier. They see history. They see someone who earned the right to be seen. The old man's jaw tightens. His eyes shine, not with tears, not yet, but with something held barely in check. He's been waiting his whole life for this moment. He just didn't know it until now. The sergeant takes one step forward. The terminal continues its noise around them. Announcements. Conversations. The relentless soundtrack of modern travel. But in this small pocket of space, everything has stopped. And what happens next will be filmed by 17 different phones. Will be shared across social media platforms within the hour. Will be viewed by millions of people who will never know the old man's name but will remember this moment for the rest of their lives. Because some moments transcend the individuals involved. Some moments become symbols. Some moments remind us of what we've forgotten. And this is one of those moments. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This is the moment. This is where everything we've been building toward finally breaks open. Subscribe now and witness what happens when respect, long overdue, hard-earned, absolutely deserved, finally arrives. Before we continue, what does honor mean to you? Not the dictionary definition. Not the abstract concept. What does it actually mean when you see it, when you feel it, when you witness it happening in real time? Tell me in the comments. Because you're about to see it. The sergeant stops 3 feet from the old man. Close enough to show respect. Far enough to maintain military propriety. His unit is behind him. 6 soldiers. All standing at attention. Waiting. The terminal noise fades into background static. Not because it actually gets quieter, The announcements still echo, travelers still talk, children still cry, but because attention has shifted, focus has narrowed, to this moment, to these people, to what's about to happen, the old man stands perfectly still. His jacket, that old dress uniform jacket with its outdated style and carefully maintained fabric, sits precisely on his shoulders. The rank insignia catches the airport's fluorescent lighting. Captain. Not just any captain. A captain from an era when black officers were rare, when their service was essential but their advancement was limited, when they fought two wars simultaneously, the one overseas and the one at home. The sergeant's eyes take in every detail. The boots, still polished despite their age. The bearing, straight spine, level chin. The posture that doesn't fade even after decades out of uniform. The eyes, alert, aware, carrying the weight of things seen and done and survived. And the patch, that faded unit patch on the duffel bag. A unit that served in a war most people have forgotten. A conflict that doesn't get movies or memorials or the kind of recognition that comes with being part of the good war or the necessary war. Just a war. Brutal. Messy. Politically complicated. The kind that history textbooks cover in half a chapter before moving on to more dramatic narratives. But the soldiers who fought it, they were no less brave, no less dedicated, no less deserving of recognition. They just never got it. Until now. The sergeant speaks. Voice clear, formal, loud enough that people nearby turn their heads. Sir. One word, but weighted with meaning, with respect, with the acknowledgement that rank and service don't expire just because you take off the uniform. The old man's attention sharpens. His posture, already military straight, becomes somehow more defined. He knows what's coming. Captain, the sergeant continues, on behalf of the United States Army and every soldier who came after you. He snaps to attention and salutes. Sharp, precise, textbook perfect. The kind of salute you give to someone who earned it, who deserves it, who represents something bigger than just themselves. Behind him, the other 6 soldiers follow instantly. 7 hands raised. 7 soldiers honoring one man. The terminal freezes. Not literally. People are still moving in the background, still rushing to gates, still absorbed in their own worlds. But in the immediate area around Gate 27, everything stops. A businessman lowers his phone. A mother puts down her coffee. A teenager pulls out one earbud. The security officer, the one who ID'd the old man earlier with suspicion rather than respect, stops mid-step. Someone whispers, "What's happening?" Someone else, I think they're saluting him. Why? I don't know. But look at his jacket. He's military. The old man stands there for a long moment. 7 soldiers holding their salutes. Waiting. Because protocol demands it. You don't drop a salute until the senior officer returns it or gives permission. And this man, this old, gray-haired veteran that everyone ignored for 3 hours, he is the senior officer in this exchange. Hearing that right? And now he's being given the recognition that comes with it. The old man's hand rises. Slowly. Not with the snap of youth, but with the deliberate precision of someone who's done this thousands of times and refuses to do it incorrectly even when his shoulder protests, even when his joints are stiff, even when age has made movements that used to be automatic require conscious effort. His hand reaches his forehead. Perfect form. The salute of an officer who served with distinction. Who led men, who made decisions that saved lives and sometimes couldn't save lives and carried both weights for the rest of his life. For 3 full seconds, the moment holds. 7 young soldiers saluting one old veteran. One old veteran returning the honor they're showing him. And everyone watching realizing they're witnessing something that shouldn't be rare but is. Something that should happen every time a veteran enters a room but doesn't. Something that speaks to values we claim to hold but too often forget to practice. Then the old man speaks. His voice is rough, thick with emotion he's holding barely in check. At ease. The soldiers drop their salutes. But they don't relax. Don't move. They're waiting for permission. The old man takes a breath. Composes himself. You're dismissed. Military language. The formal release from duty. The acknowledgement that they've done their job, shown their respect, and are now free to go. But none of them move. The sergeant steps closer. Close enough for conversation. Close enough that his words are for the old man, not for the growing audience. Sir, we recognized your unit patch. We studied your unit in our military history courses. What you did, what all of you did, it paved the way for everything that came after. The old man's eyes shimmer. He blinks hard. We were just doing our jobs. No, sir, the young private first class speaks up now, stepping forward. You were doing our jobs before we were born. Before the military looked like it does now. Before people like me, she's Latina, young, female, everything that would have been impossible in his era, before people like me could serve. Her voice cracks slightly. You made space for us. And nobody thanked you properly. Nobody recognized you the way you deserved. The old man looks at her. Really looks. Sees himself in her eyes. Young, idealistic, believing that service matters, that sacrifice means something, that wearing the uniform is about something bigger than yourself. You just did, he says quietly. Around them, the crowd has grown. Not pressing in. Not invading space. But forming a respectful circle. Watching. Witnessing. Phones are out now. Lots of them. Recording. Capturing. But it's not the exploitative kind of recording, the kind that treats people like content, like viral moments to be consumed and forgotten. This is different. This is people recognizing they're seeing something important. Something that deserves to be remembered. A senior officer has joined the group of soldiers, older, maybe late 30s, with the rank insignia of a lieutenant colonel. He must have been nearby, must have been summoned by someone in the unit. He approaches the old man. Salutes as well. The old man returns it. Captain, the officer says, voice formal but warm, thank you for your service. And I apologize that it's taken this long for someone to say it properly. The old man shakes his head. No apologies necessary. You're here now. That's what matters. The lieutenant colonel extends his hand. Fishik. Military handshake. Firm, brief, meaningful. Your unit served in. We served where we were sent, the old man interrupts gently. Just like you. Just like all of us. The officer nods. Understands. Some veterans don't like to specify. Don't like to reduce years of service, of trauma, of brotherhood and loss to a single theater or campaign. It was all service. It all mattered. Someone in the crowd, an older white man, maybe late 70s, wearing a baseball cap with Vietnam veteran embroidered on it, pushes through slowly. He stops in front of the old man. Salutes. Crooked salute. Arthritis makes the movement imperfect, but absolutely sincere. Brother, he says simply. The old man returns the salute. Then embrace him. Two old soldiers. Different wars. Different times. Same understanding. The crowd is silent now. Completely silent. Even the announcements seem to have paused, though that's probably just perception, just the way moments of profound emotion distort time and sound and normal reality. A gate agent, the same one who ignored the old man earlier when he was just another elderly passenger taking up space, approaches with tears running down her face. Sir, I'm so sorry. I should have seen. The old man looks at her kindly. You see me now. That's enough. More people approach. Not crowded. Not overwhelming. But approaching. One by one. A young black boy, maybe 8 years old, the same boy from earlier who asked if he was a soldier, breaks free from his mother's grip and runs up. You are a soldier, he says excitedly. The old man kneels down. Knees protesting. Worth it. I was. A long time ago. Were you brave? The old man considers this. Thinks about firefights and fear and making decisions when there was no time to think and living with those decisions forever after. I was scared, he says honestly. But I did my job anyway. That's all bravery really is. The boy nods seriously. I want to be like you. The old man's voice catches. Then be kind. Be honest. Serve something bigger than yourself. The uniform is just fabric. It's what you bring to it that matters. The mother has tears streaming down her face. Mouths, thank you, to the old man over her son's head. The boarding announcement finally comes. Now boarding all passengers for Flight 447 to Raleigh-Durham. All passengers, please have your boarding passes ready. The old man's flight. He stands slowly. The soldiers help him up, respectfully, not patronizingly. Offering an arm, not assuming he needs it. He gathers his duffel bag. Adjusts his jacket one final time. The sergeant says, "Sir, would you like us to walk you to the gate?" The old man smiles. "That won't be necessary. But thank you. It would be our honor." And so they do. 7 young soldiers in modern uniforms. 1 old veteran in a jacket from another era. Walking together through the terminal. And as they walk, something extraordinary happens. People stand. Not everyone. Not in some orchestrated, choreographed way. But people stand. The businessman who muttered about him earlier stands. The couple who didn't want to sit near him stands. The security officer who ID'd him with suspicion stands. Salutes. One by one. Organically. Genuinely. People who ignored him for hours suddenly saw him. Really seeing him. Not because he's wearing a jacket now. Not because soldiers acknowledged him. But because they're finally paying attention. The old man walks past them with dignity. Doesn't showboat. Doesn't acknowledge the recognition with anything more than a slight nod. This isn't about him being celebrated. This is about him finally being seen. At the gate, the agent, a different one, older, with her own military bearing, checks his boarding pass. "Captain," she says quietly, "you'll be boarding first. And I've upgraded you. No charge. Thank you for your service." He tries to protest. She won't hear it. It's done. Enjoy your flight. The soldiers form a line. Stand at attention. One final salute. The old man returns it. Perfect form. Then he boards. Walks down the jetway. Disappears from view. The soldiers hold their formation for another moment. Then, as one, they disperse back into the terminal. Their duty was fulfilled. Their respect given. Their debt, small though it is compared to what is owed, paid. And the terminal returns to normal. Announcements resume. Crowds move. Life continues. But everyone who witnessed what just happened, they're different now. Changed by the reminder that heroes don't always look like what we expect. That sacrifice doesn't demand recognition but deserves it anyway. That the quiet old man sitting in the corner might have earned more respect than anyone in the room. And that sometimes, just sometimes, the world gets it right. If you're crying right now, if your chest feels tight, if you're thinking about every veteran you've ever walked past without acknowledging, good. Feel that. Remember it. And subscribe so you never forget that stories like this exist. That moments like this matter. That recognition, even when it comes late, still counts. When was the last time you thanked a veteran? Not with hollow words, but with genuine recognition? And if you haven't, will you after watching this? Tell me in the comments. Because this man's story is just one of millions that deserve to be heard. The plane takes off 30 minutes later. On time despite everything. Despite the delay in boarding while people took photos, while soldiers stood at attention, while an old man received the recognition that should have come decades ago but came today. The old man sits in first class. Window seat. Upgraded from his original seat at no charge. He's removed the jacket. Folded it carefully. Placed it on the empty seat beside him. First class has that luxury, space, room to breathe. His hands rest on the armrests. Still steady despite everything. Despite the emotion. Despite the memories that came flooding back. Despite the recognition that he didn't seek but received anyway. He looks out the window as the plane climbs. The terminal grows smaller. The city spreads out below. Roads like arteries. Buildings like cells. The organized chaos of human civilization visible from above. He's flown this route before. Many times. Visiting family. Attending funerals. Watching grandchildren grow up. But this flight feels different. Not because of the upgrade. Not because of the extra legroom or the complimentary drinks or any material comfort. Because of what happened back there. Because for 3 hours he was invisible. And then for 10 minutes he was seen. Really seen. And those 10 minutes, They matter more than he expected them to. A flight attendant approaches. Young woman, professional, kind eyes. Can I get you anything, sir? Water would be wonderful. Thank you. She brings it. Sets it down carefully. Pauses. I saw what happened in the terminal. My colleague texted me. The video is already everywhere. The old man smiles slightly. I suppose it would be. For what it's worth, thank you. My grandfather served too. Korea. He never talked about it much. But I know it mattered. I know he carried it. They all do, the old man says quietly. We all carry it. She nods. Understands that she's touching something deep, something that can't be fully explained to people who weren't there. Enjoy your flight, sir. She moves on. The old man sips his water. Thinks. Back in the terminal, the video is spreading. Someone posted it to Twitter with the caption, "This is what honor looks like. Watch until the end." If this story changed something in you, if you're going to look at people differently now, if you're going to pay more attention to the quiet dignity around you, then subscribe. Share this. Make sure it reaches people who need to hear it. Because stories like this don't just honor one veteran. They honor all of them. Every person who served. Every person who sacrificed. Every person who came home changed and carried it quietly for the rest of their lives. They deserve to be seen. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve our attention. Subscribe so we can keep telling their stories. One last thing. What will you do differently after watching this? Will you pay more attention to the elderly people around you? Will you thank veterans when you see them? Will you question your own assumptions about who deserves recognition? Tell me in the comments. Because this story ends here. But what you do with it, that's just beginning. Honor doesn't demand attention, but it deserves to be recognized. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of a story about a man who waited his whole life to be seen.